This is a demo of my new event system, sort of call it an event sequencer. So I just come down here, create a sequence. I'll just call this test. And this is going to allow me to do things where I could run things in a sequence or run things at the same time, but it's going to be controlling a bunch of different events that I have. So first I just need to refresh what event types I have. And so over here we're going to have a list of all the events that we're going to have. Right now I've just got like event dialog and a moving to, so I can tell a character or a bunch of characters to move to certain locations. So the dialog is the one I've been working on recently, so just clicking that adds a folder, and in here we've got a scriptable object of a dialog, but everything can be just accessed here in the sequencer. So if I open that element, I get the same view of what was in that folder. And so I'll create a couple of these. So if I create these from this view, the list view, then it's going to add a new one to the end of the list. And if I go into here and I can go through the list, if I click on to add, it's going to add after whatever is listed. So if this is at index 0, it'll add it at index 1, and whatever is at 1 gets pushed to 2. So you can add new events anywhere in the list from this area, or you can add in this area and you can reorganize your list. So let's just do a quick dialogue on this, and we've got Bob. Bob's going to say, hello there. I want him to pause there. How are you doing, Mary? And I want an effect on that. So we've got branch effects here. So let's look at what we have here. All of our events have, I could program in a delay before the event runs or delay after the event runs. For a dialogue, dialogues will wait for a click to happen to proceed, or I can set a timer and then tell it to wait a certain amount of time and then it proceeds. Click is normally the standard one. The timer is good if you're doing things like cutscenes, and the sequencer is perfect for running a cutscene with your characters in the scene. Virtual camera, so the camera normally follows a player, but if this is checked for any dialogue, the camera is going to focus on whoever's talking, so basically you can see the dialogue on the screen better. That can be turned off just in case you want to run at the same time another virtual camera event, which, let's say you had 3 people in the scene that are all talking at the same time and you want to see their dialogue boxes without focusing on each one. You can set a virtual camera in the center and then turn this off, and then I haven't created it yet, but you can have a virtual camera event, which when you click on that, it will activate a specialized virtual camera that you can specify. So that's normally turned on because normal dialogue, you want to see the dialogue on the person. You've got your dialogue audio, standard, and then here's the effects list. So I'm going to create an effect, and this one is going to be a wait. So, and it gives us a tiny little preview here. So text event hello. If I put the wait here, it's going to say hello, wait 0 seconds, and then there. I want it after the there. So hello there, wait, and then it goes on. Let's make it a 2-second wait. Let's add another effect. So when he says hello there, I want it to do a wave, and he's friendly, so let's give him a green sort of text. And here's where we select the range for the effect. Right now it's just hello, but I'm going to go hello there. Let's do another effect, and let's do a bounce. Whenever he calls on a name, we'll do a bounce and make it red. And that's for Mary. So Mary's at the end. Do a bounce on Mary. I have never checked out the bounce yet on this setting, so bounce behavior. See, that amplitude is way too high. I'm going to cut that down to 3. And let's go back to our test. Okay, so I've got a bunch of effects here. And I can also, once you add an effect, this button will show up saying test effects in console, where I can see hello there is in green. The wave happens before and ends there. There's the wait 2, how are you doing? And then there's where the bounce starts. Hold on. There we go. We can see Mary's going to be in red, and we see the bounce end. Okay. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to look at is, so that's the effects there. I've got my next person, who is Mary, and she's going to say, I'm doing just fine. And that's it for now. This is just a test. I'm going to make this one a timer so that we can see how that works. Make it 3 seconds, and then okay, if I do this, it's going to add it. So there, it's added it to the end, and this is going to be Tom. Tom's going to say don't talk to him, Mary. And he's just a click. Okay, let's give this a test. So I've got an event sequence manager, and here we go. We drag a test in and just ignore all the rest of it. And this is where this is what's going to run all the effects. This will always be there in your game, and I've got it set to a singleton. So whenever there's something in this slot, it's when it's running something. So when I execute an event, I drop this into the slot, and then when the event's done, it's going to clear that slot out, which I have not done yet. But that way I can test to see, is there actually an event running, so I can stop other things from happening. For instance, stop you from controlling the character walking around and stuff like that. Okay, let's give it a run, and I don't have any characters in the scene right now, so it's just a dialog box is going to pop up, nice and simple. And it's using a text animator, so here we've got the hello there, it did its pause. How are you doing? There's Mary giving its little bounce, which I haven't really played with those settings yet. And it's waiting for me to continue with a click. So if I click, it moves on. I'm doing just fine. And then that waited, so it didn't wait for me to click. It actually auto advanced to the next one. And yeah, and then I click and it's done. So basically that should clear itself out. So let's just run that again. And when it finishes, I'm going to say that the sequence is equal to null. I put that outside of the for each. Sorry. Okay. So I have an activate sequence which will insert this and then run. Currently it's running on a enumerator timer. So I'm thinking I might switch it to async, because I can use async await. So run it again, and so if I normally what would happen is that would get inputted into it, that test. So I can also skip the typewriter and then continue, skip typewriter, and that waits 2 seconds. Don't tell him, Mary. And then when I do that, that equals to none, which I do have a piece of code that checks. It gives me back a bool to find out if there's a sequence in there. There's only ever going to be a sequence here if a sequence is running. And that is it for my little tool so far. Right Right, there it is. Go back to show list, and I could reorganize any one of these to play before or after the next one, and it adds a folder where it inserts those into the folder. So it works very easily, and I'm going to be adding some new event types. So like I said, we have an event type for the virtual camera. You can have event type for almost anything. So basically I can say give gold to a player, or go to a scene. So a person will walk to a door, and then I can do a wait after. So if I did a move 2, then I can say Bob is going to move to a position, and it's going to pause until he reaches that position, and when it gets there, the next event is going to be a change scene event. So I can actually tell it we're moving to another scene. I haven't done any work on the move 2 yet because I don't have any characters in the scene. I just built this scene to work on the event system. I will be bringing some characters in to test with my normal movement system, and which I'll be updating to work properly with this. And so that's it. That's my event system, and I'll be using this going forward in most of my games. Thank you. Bye.